Oh, hi. Uh, Most of you don't know me. Those that do probably will understand why I'm doing this. Those who don't, you have to bear with me. I'll give you a chance to um, get to know me a little bit more so I can offer some advice and commentary. So, first of all, for those who don't know me, I've been very active and this anti-COVID movement since almost day one. I missed maybe one rally. I joined the original group that was built around some names. I just gonna use the first names. So it was Susan, it was Marco, and it was Dan. Um, the movement since has evolved multiple times. Some people stayed, but for different reasons. Some people just conducted themselves as journalists and continued with their work. Um, didn't really care if it's COVID or some other things. They just reporters. Some people use this anti-COVID resistance as a bit of a platform to do other things. And again, those know who they are. There's some commercialization of the movement that created some monetary rewards, and for some, it became a platform to run in this provincial elections that are just coming on the 24th. Unlike most of those people, I joined that movement for a very simple reason. I'm a patriot. My life has been changed overnight. I had a problem with that. I'm a professional traveler. That obviously affected my ability to do my business of traveling and enjoying the world. I've been to 120 countries. So again, that gives me some right um, to speak about the population of this planet and the effects that this COVID hoax is having on them. So, other than that, I have no a political agenda. I'm not any diversion or paid agent. I'm not coming before you here um, for any commercial a reason or any interest. I don't have any ego issues. I don't want to make myself famous. I'm just doing my job. Um, I'm a patriot that has a problem with a situation that we are witnessing right now. And the reason why I became um, motivated to do this podcast and share it is because I just came back from overseas. I spent 2.5 months in Europe, where I traveled extensively without masks. And I also participate in major life-changing events like the rally in Berlin of over 2 million people. I was also a very active participant in other countries. There was Ireland and Britain. And also, as a Polish Canadian, I made my best to contribute to Polish movement, which has gathered hundreds of thousands of people throughout my stay. And I even had a chance to speak at Warsaw rally before the crowd of 50,000. So this movement is clearly international, and I was a witness to it. I was also reporting live from Berlin to various places like Laurel and Tyler Thompson, Glorious and Free, and some other places on top of my Facebook accounts of the events. I also was fortunate to make acquaintance with the political leadership of the Polish opposition party of Confederation, and the MP that leads that party as an opposition to COVID measures. And I joined the group in Berlin as a kind of parliamentary representation to Berlin, to add prominence to that movement that Gregory Brown represents. So I'm also very friendly with the party leadership, and that gives me a little bit of an insight how a parliamentary approach towards this global assault on our freedom is taking place. And by pure coincidence, I also landed a bit of a privileged gig on the independent media. In Polish, it's w Realu 24, which is equivalent of the Rebel News. And I had my appearance there month ago live, and we gathered about 100,000 viewers. Very good reception. I described situation in Canada and put it in perspective to the global and European movements. And by doing so, I became a full-time correspondent from Canada. I just had another appearance the other day speaking about global events, but also what I have encountered here in Canada, which again got about 85,000 viewers with fairly, I would say, very positive reception. So that gives me a bit of a right to assert myself the right to speak about the movement in general and put this Vancouver resistance into a context of global events. And I came here charged with energy and ideas. Also was asked by European counterparts to spread the message here and encourage our leadership here in Vancouver to join forces and create a uniform international movement towards one goal, which is stop that COVID nonsense. So I'm in quarantine, just one day left. I'll be out tomorrow doing my thing, and but I use my time efficiently. And obviously, I was doing my writing, communicating, and I extended my hand to someone that you very well know, and I'm gonna mention that name now because I want to be very direct, and I'm gonna make sure that we are not running around the bushes here. So it's Ryan Kulbaba that when I was away managed to revive the movement that was in a disarray. When I was leaving Canada July 1st, we were able to get 30, 50, 100 people the most. We have lost the momentum. It was midsummer. People were enjoying their time. Not many people believed that there is a reason to be out there on the streets and help us. So I was very disappointed. I was in communication with Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. I was also part of the No New Normal Zoom meetings. And I clearly felt that we're not going in the right direction. We need to have international presence. And not ironically, but luckily for me, I ended up being in the very center of that international movement with the absolute peak on the 29th of August in Berlin. And I was there. I've been to rallies before of 500 and 600,000. Independence rally in Poland in 1918 that I have flown into from Canada just for that event alone. So I've been among almost 3 million people. I have to tell you, this was nothing but the life-changing event. So that energy clearly has pushed me in the direction that I'm heading right now. And I want to make sure that you understand why I'm talking about it the way I am. Now, just being here before you and talking about so-called leadership will definitely bring, I'm going to be colloquial here, a shitstorm, because our movement here is very divided and fragmented, and is lacking a context. Now, there was a lot of precedences of some people stepping in and trying to run the show, and because there was just too many cooks in this kitchen, everything was subsequently collapsing. There was also a lot of personal attacks. There was some obviously ego tripping, and there's some quiet time on part of some, trying to send a message that if you don't like me, I'm gonna leave and I'm not gonna be doing this anymore. And then there was a resurrection, and the movement reappeared. Now, I have to make it very clear. What I'm gonna say here is not gonna be very popular. The truth never is. And I'm a big boy. I can take criticism, even if it's not constructive. I rather have constructive criticism, but I can take it. If I wasn't prepared to do this, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm doing it for the case. I'm trying to help everybody, because my ultimate goal is to live free and not to make a famous person out of myself. I already have some recognition, and it's solely based on my activity, and I would be very happy to do it anonymously. But because I do it under my name, then people know about it. But there is no hidden agenda here, and I wouldn't mind to back up anybody. I would back up devil here to win, but that devil better be prepared to deal with the enemy that we are facing. And I don't think we have the devil in front of us to lead us to the goal. We won't. So, as I said, people will be jumping on me, and those that are friends of the leadership, they will be obviously taking it personally. Please don't, because that's the last thing you want to do. And after I finish talking, you understand that this movement is bigger than you and I or Ryan Kulbaba or whoever else. This thing is gigantic. Okay, so having said that, so I'm ready for the shitstorm that comes my way, and I'll be more than happy to defend every word that I'm saying. So, as I said, the movement in Vancouver has evaporated. Then I left, and I was paying attention to both sides of the pond. And obviously, I was more involved in Europe, because that's where the epicenter of that resistance was occurring. I'm not going to go into detail what made German movement huge, unprecedented, but I can only say there was apolitical. Two, a formation. One was called Querdenken, which is kind of out-of-box thinking. Another one was Widerstand, which is uprising. Both have gathered professional people, doctors, lawyers, journalists, even people like chefs that have quite a large following. And it was not coincidence that we have Robert Kennedy Jr. there that actually supported the movement, fighting the cabal, including the vaccines and other things that WHO and CDC are trying to bring upon us. So this was the kind of resurrection moment for me, because now I realize, being there, that I was right about this, that we cannot do anything here in Vancouver with 50, 100, 300, or even 1,500 people that climax on 13th of September, just before I came back, because everything we did here was pretty much going down because we didn't have enough people. And Vancouver, because of its social structure, the mix of immigration, people coming from countries that used to be oppressed or they still oppressed, there is no natural resistance there anymore. They come here just to have a peace and quiet. They go about their lives, and they want to stick out their necks so they can get punished. There's also the welfare state kind of approach here, that people don't want to lose their benefits. And if you get your CRB, you want to make sure that the government doesn't nail you with some accusation that you're supporting the wrong party. And then obviously there is another part, which is, this pro-Antifa, Be Like Lives Matter, and Soros contamination or infection of the brains, which is, I call the real virus, that people rather support causes they are meaningless rather than stand up for themselves, because obviously that's just too real. So they don't care about us, but they care to show up in a mass of 10,000 in June because someone told them that George Floyd was a hero. So when I observe all those things in Europe, and as again, Berlin, there was gigantic protests in London. There was even protests in France. There was protests in Dublin, a beautiful performance with Dr. Cahill. And then we had a protest in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. Now, this was clearly something that was spreading and causing this kind of global feeling that we might not be able to do things individually, but because it becomes a global process, then we have a chance. And this is exactly how they approach it globally. Like, see, people in Vancouver are so inward thinking. And again, Ryan Kulbaba, that seems to promote himself as that ultimate savior. Well, I tell you why Vancouver on September 13 happened. Because everybody was looking at Berlin. When I was reporting from Berlin, Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, she stayed all night to report this event. People were just glued to the computers watching it. And the precedence of that, and obviously the London and Dublin at the same time, this was just like revolution. Okay, the good revolution, not the French or the Russian one. This was the real thing. And so that people in Vancouver and BC, they watched that too. So they compare this miserable performance we've had on the streets for months and months. We were like, 15 or 20 of us marching, and people were completely making fun of us. We became literally a joke. So the people watched that Berlin thing and Dublin and London and Warsaw, and then they realized this thing is bigger than we thought it was. And they were pumped up. And then obviously the Montreal happened. Never mind, there was some protests in Ottawa early in Toronto, but Montreal, just the day before your rally on September 13, you get 50,000 people. I mean, 50,000 people. Montreal is not a bigger city than Vancouver. Okay? And then you saw the clips from Australia. See, I have friends everywhere. I have friends in Australia, Indonesia. I have friends in South Africa. I can talk about this for hours. I can give you very detailed description of every country, every restriction, every police state there is out there. Okay, unless you go online and check this, but you're never gonna have better source than I do. Okay, and I'm also kind of doing it professionally now. So I'm not an idiot. I know what makes to create that movement. So September 13 happened when people were watching their Australian brothers and sisters living in a freaking ghetto, in a Nazi state, being arrested over nothing. In Australia, you can't even leave the country. Even if you're Australian, you cannot come back to your country. People have no idea, unless you really look for this information, they have no idea where this is heading, what Commonwealth countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and United Kingdom, and United Kingdom being obviously on top of this cabal, running the show, why we differ from other countries. Because this is where the epicenter of that bloody Nazism is. This is what they do. They have to set the example, because whatever happens in the English-speaking countries become a model for everybody to follow. And I am also European, so I travel in Europe. I know EU, and I know how those mechanisms work. I'm not going to go into details because that's not the topic of this conversation. My job is to tell you what is wrong with what we do, why the leadership is guilty, and what we should do to make it different and better. So September 13 rally happened, and we have a lot of peacocking there on the stage. We had very good speakers. Vaccine Choice Canada, we had amazing speakers that made this event. Even Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson did an amazing job doing her thing, but some people took exception to her supporting Trump. I do support Trump. You don't need to know why, but obviously Canadians hate Trump. And she got like 300,000 views, but lots of people think, oh no, this is not what we do in Canada. Trump is bad, right? So have Biden for change. We'll see what Biden will bring to Canada. Okay, but that's just a digression. So you had this moment, Ryan Kulbaba, on the stage, and you thought you're like Messiah. You created this event, and you take full credit. And now what you're gonna do with this newfound fame? I'm gonna tell you what happened. Okay, you were just a facilitator. You didn't make it happen. We did in Berlin, in Dublin, in London, in Warsaw. We did this. People showed up just because they saw it. Okay, so this is where the whole thing climaxed. Okay, and then what you did, Ryan, you disappeared because you said, okay, I can't replicate this thing. This is not going to happen again. And you're right, you can't. Yeah, so you gave yourself a month and a half. So you didn't even show up to some rallies, if I'm not mistaken. You definitely didn't run or lead this. You just let other people like know new normal, because you don't want to take the criticism that you failed, right? So you're building your, your posture, your ego, your image. Like, every time I show up, there's like lots of people. 1,500 people. That's not a lot of people. Maybe it's a lot of people for Vancouver. But I tell you what, with the first rain, okay, or the government coming down on us and say you can't have even 50 people or 20 people, and they're going to come there with the writing blogs, they're going to give you fines of $2,000. So put those two things together, $2,000 fine and rain. How many people you think is going to show up? Okay, and because I care about this movement, I have to be so blunt with you, because there's so much shit going around you. There's so many rumors how you run this show. And I exchanged messages with you yesterday because I wanted to share something, not on camera. This is just because you put me in that situation. I wanted to tell you why this movement needs to become international. Okay, you are marketing this next event. They have David Icke. You're not gonna have him. He's gonna be on a screen in Toronto. You making people believe that you brought him here. He won't be here. Okay, you're not going to bring any big person here, because Vancouver is not the center of the universe, just in case you didn't notice. I know it. Berlin is. Warsaw will be 10 times faster on that map than Vancouver. Toronto, Montreal will be. Did you see Chris Sky in Toronto? Did you see what he did? He broke the quarantine 2 days after he came from Holland, an island. And he spoke to the cops directly, okay? This is what he said. If I'm breaking the law, why don't you handcuff me? And he challenged them. Come over. Why don't you take me away? Okay, so he got $880 ticket. And did you hear his speech? This is the leader, okay? Because he's putting his foot where his mouth is. He's the real hero, okay? I've never said I was a hero. I'm sitting in this bloody quarantine. Tomorrow I'm leaving because I already challenged immigration. I challenged people on the plane. I didn't wear the mask. I was reported on arrival. I had a pet talk with the immigration officers. They've been calling me every day as I arrived. I had twice the police showing at my door, just because I told them I don't believe in new religion, that is COVID. So I'm telling you, you think you're the hero? Okay, show me. Show me how tough you are. How many lines are you prepared to cross? Okay, what price are you prepared to pay for this, other than have a photo op? Okay, and watching your Instagrams and checking how many people liked your video, or how many people wrote about you, because you are not the movement. You're like us. Okay, and I appreciate you took upon yourself to do something, and I was not directly, because I wasn't here. I was supporting you. I felt you were the alternative, because the movement was collapsing, but you misunderstood your role. It will take millions, hundreds of millions of Ryans and me to make this movement work. So get off your high horse and get it, man. All right, I have to be brutal with you. I gave you this opportunity. I told you I have information to share. I've been actually empowered from European countries to extend my hand to you and give you a feedback so you can actually, with your initiative and my support and everybody else's, we can create something that is bigger than mere 100 people on the street, because our numbers will trickle down. You won't see more than 30, 40 people in November. If we still have November, because the way it's going, we'll be gone. The lockdown and martial law, like they're prepping in Alberta and Ontario and elsewhere. So you put yourself October 17th because you think you need more time. But you don't have that time because it is not about you. All right. So enough about you, because I think I'm making you too important. I think you got the message. I gave you the choice to communicate with someone that is definitely senior to you, all right, in age and experience. I'm a European that also fought solidarity. I fought live ammunition on the streets of Poland during the real martial law. Okay, so I know what resistance is, when you have to actually fight the cops, fight the military, throw rocks, Molotov cocktails. I know what it is to put your freaking life on the line, not to pose to cameras and show your tattoos, which I have too. You can see them here. Okay, so make the long story short, where we are failing. There is a movement in Europe that right now is being projected under the theme of March for Freedom. Now, every country right now, pretty much every week, has some form of events. But there are some important dates that people need to observe. So there's two dates right now that are very important. One is October 10, one is October 24th. On October 10, every country in Europe and around the world, there's a litany of those countries that are joining this movement, having their own national rallies. Okay. And on October 24th, they move to the capital cities and they have gigantic rallies under the March for Freedom banner. Now, none of those movements are strong enough to defeat this evil. And Quebec is going under lockdowns right now, so is Ontario. Ford is trying to stop everything just because they show that level of resistance. So restrictions are draconian, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in Toronto or Montreal, how many people will be showing up. They even go personally after the leaders, like Chris Sky. I know that CBC printed an article because they were totally appalled that the cops were too lenient, and they want his head. I wouldn't be surprised he'd be charged and taken to courts, and they will be demanding 3 months in jail or $500,000 fine. I hope you can gather this money to help Chris. Same thing happened in London. They went after the leaders. They arrested them. There was an amazing event in London just 2 weeks ago where the lady, don't know her name, she was mobilizing the troops, the people, the protesters to fend off the cops. And every time the cops were trying to grab someone from the crowd, they had like 30,000 there. She was sending the mostly male to go there and build a wall against that. She was been doing this for 3.5 hours. Okay, when you go to your rally and you say, hey, let's be nice, we love the cops, and let's not tell other people what we think because it's a peaceful rally. You guys are like, what planet do you live on? This is not the time for nice. I just printed my manifesto on Facebook. Read it. This is no time for nice anymore. The time for nice is over. You don't fight devil with peace and love and hippie stuff. Okay, I understand we need cops. And I also addressed that issue. Cops are good. Trust me. They came to my house and we had a chat. They understand. They know this is bloody nonsense. They know that quarantine and everything else is such a bullshit. They know it. So when they asked me if I need anything, I said I need Coke and booze, and they were laughing. So they're on our side. They also know they're humans. They're mothers, fathers, sisters, daughters, whoever. They go home, they take off the uniform, and they are us. So they don't want this bullshit, but their life depends on it because that's what they do for a living. So we have to clearly make the message clear. We are not against the cops, but when those cops become the robo-cops, like in Australia, the bets are off. Because if you true leader, Ryan Kulbaba, see what you're gonna do then when they say, get the fuck out of my street. Are you gonna stand up to them and say, okay, fine, okay, the law is the law? Because that's what makes a true leader. Okay, you want to be a hero, you want to be a leader, or you want to have just photo opportunity? What you made of? Show me. So this is where we need the cops, and this is why we have to speak to them like you do, that they're on our side, but we have to send the clear message that we are representing the real power, that we don't have to follow the criminal law, we just follow the civil law, and our rights should never be questioned. And we have to stand strong, but we have to join with international community. There is no bloody way Vancouver will persevere for another 3, 4, 5 weeks unless we are part of a gigantic movement. Dr. Heiko Schengen was arrested in London, who is a doctor that is representing extra parliamentary committee working with hundreds of doctors and lawyers, and they're actually investigating the crimes against a German nation for illegal measures. That guy was arrested in London in Hyde Park, not even when he was speaking, they grabbed him just before. He was very vocal during Berlin rally. He was also a very close associate of Robert Kennedy Jr. He's a very prominent person. He was arrested. Were you arrested, Ryan Kulbaba? All right. So this is what happens when you become actually someone that makes any sense, and it becomes a prominent for the movement. And this doctor, he was not looking his prominence or fame. He was just very hard working behind the scenes. And because he is who he is, he obviously became a known person. Okay. There is also a class action suit in Germany. There is a Dr. Hamlich that he is actually suing CDC and WHO. Is a class action, same thing, for the wrongful use of CPR tests, for all the lockdowns that are based on the false positives, all the abuse of power. And he is actually going after them financially because he's got license both in Germany and United States, in California. He can do it. There's no class action precedence in Germany. Cuba just sent me Rocco Galati. Yes, I am aware of Rocco. Rocco is obviously doing this here. I'm totally aware of it. I participate in multiple Zoom meetings with Rocco. I know he's obviously doing it here. So I'm not saying we haven't started something, and Rocco is a gigantic hope we have here. But again, Rocco is doing something that is on a larger scale. So we have to bring large entities into our picture. I know we had Vaccine Choice Canada. I know that part and why we need it, and obviously we're collecting the funds to support both Vaccine Choice Canada, but also Rocco Galati through this organization, and Unite for Canada as well. So I am aware of those movements in Canada. I'm very much supported. I think this is exactly what we need to be doing. But if we're talking protests is basically bodies on the street. So why it is very important that if we make the most of the people's presence on the street, we have to make sure that if we don't gather enough people, then at least we are doing it in conjunction, on coordination with a larger international movement. All right. So, for example, in Poland, there is multiple organizations that do it, and they are working closely with this movement I just described. And why is it essential? Because we don't know how much time we have. So at some point, we will be probably just locked down, and any presence on the street will equal fine or jail. Now, do we have a way of dealing with this. Ryan, do you know what to do if you can't get people on the street? Okay, if you don't have a good weather, and for how long are we going to be doing this? Until police patience runs out or they get instructions from the top and they can no longer support us? Because we are not Black Lives Matters. They can go on the street anytime, nobody's going to touch them, and they're going to have full CBC coverage or CTV. We won't have it. We will be instantly criminalized. So think about it, how this movement can be sustained. Take away leniency of police and a good weather if we are not part of gigantic entity. All right. So this is so critical that we have to develop that strategy. So just to try to summarize it, October 10, October 24, our rally is October 17 and 18. And I always wondered, like, okay, why we have 2 dates? Why there's 2 events in 2 separate days? Like, do we have like 100,000 on 17 and 150,000 on 18, and we cannot accommodate them on one day? Like, why are we even splitting hair? Why we have those, small groups? One is protesting for trafficking, children trafficking. One is doing like no new normal. One is doing, marches for anti-COVID. Like, do we have that many people to spread around? There should be absolutely no division, should not be splitting or creating some, branches. So there's only one goal. We have to get this freaking COVID out of our lives. And if we cannot draw from energy of Europe, because this is where the epicenter is, then we're done. We are absolutely done. So when I talk to the leader and I'm suggesting, I have ideas, and I've been mandated to talk to you, kind of authorized to reach out to you and give you ideas how we can make our movement here an international or part of international entity. And then you don't answer my calls or texts, and then you say, I'm too busy, I don't answer calls because people don't answer my calls or whatever, I'm too busy doing my shitty thing. Well, maybe you should answer the call or text back, because you don't know what you're getting, because you're so preoccupied doing your little show that you're losing context. And that's the context I'm just giving to you. We are not the center of universe. We are not the sun. All right. Now, we can only sustain ourselves if we look east, because that's where everything is coming from. We have to join our forces with Montreal, Toronto on a regular basis. We have to coordinate dates of the rallies. We have to do it at the same time. We should not be splitting dates here. We cannot go 17, 18 just not to offend the other group. There's only one event. And you should also add this prominence to what we do. It's not just Vancouver, because people in Vancouver don't give a shit about what we do. You know that, and I know it. Everybody knows it. So we have to take this 100 or 200 and 300 and maybe make it look like it's millions, because we are only the satellite movement of other movements right now at the same time, happening in Dublin or happening in Berlin or happening in Hanover or happening in Warsaw or Prague, wherever it is. It has to be the same movement, because Vancouver, we don't do our own business here. This is not just Vancouver. We are actually at the receiving end of everything. There's nothing further west. It's the end. The road ends. It's just the ocean. So, all right. I think I had enough ranting. I have more practical ideas, but I'm not going to be sharing them here that openly. It's not the place or time. I only know that the next rally is on the 17th, and in between there's nothing. I know there's this weekly new normal performances at Art Gallery. Well, they're not gathering that many people, and I am afraid that this might create a precedence of media using us against our cause by showing the the small numbers that they've been gathering there. So that's exactly what we don't want to do. But what you, Ryan, are doing, waiting till October 17 because you think you need 6 weeks to get enough of 500 people so you don't look stupid, well, that makes no sense. Because you don't really know what's happening outside of Vancouver. Do you even know the countries in Europe and you know the participants of what's going on in there? Or you think that everything is BC and the world would collapse if we didn't show up on the street? No. So clearly you're wrong there. I'm going to let you run this show unless I've been asked otherwise. I was planning on participating on October 17. I had even a small speech, which was very short. It was only just to reach people at the core, just to give them enough brutal reality check that they need to see the truth. Because there's absolutely no time or place to sugarcoat things. There's no like hugs over masks and let's be nice and happy and kiss everybody, like hold hands and like hopefully Bill Gates will change his mind and it's gonna be fine, right? Because Trudeau loves us, he's printing checks and the grandchildren of our children will be paying for this bullshit. Okay, time for nice is over. So no big deal for you if I don't show up. I'm not planning on showing up on October 17 because the way it is right now, there is no reliable, serious, intelligent, outward-looking leadership for this movement. And I'm saying it with full awareness of the consequence of what I said. Whoever hates me for this, fine, I don't care. I don't care. The point is, do you know who your leader is? Do you know if the leader is really for the movement? Or maybe the leader has some personal agenda. There's just too many personal attacks. There's so much crap going on. It's clearly there's some personality issues. We can't afford to split now when every day matters. So, listen, I generally sound more optimistic, and I am. I believe we defeat this bullshit. If you read my Facebook posts and my podcasts, I have my YouTube little channel, not because I am doing this often. I just do it sometimes just to record my thoughts. I am an optimist. I know that there is such a thing as human power and persistence. And good things are always done by collective, not Russian Revolution, don't get me wrong, because this wasn't a natural movement. But the human spirit has a chance. But you have to go and check your soul, what you really care about. There's no time for playing games or like pretending and like, are you in it for whatever path you have to follow? Are you ready to pay the ultimate price? Are you ready to be freaking fine? Are you ready to go to fucking jail? Are you ready to cross that line? Or are you gonna be at the mercy of your government or your municipal politician and some other shit that comes your way? Oh, we don't want the masks. Who cares? After masks, something else will come. So don't be fooled. This is your last chance. And you need a leader that steps in. You need the real leader that will show you the way. We don't need a peacock. We need a strong, intelligent, progressive, outward-looking leadership that can appreciate the context. Without the context, we stand no chance. Now, if you guys want to talk to me, you can always find me on Facebook or whatever. I'm not promoting myself. This is not about me. I was not even planning on doing this, but after my private conversations, I decided I need to get it out there and let the hate mail start. I don't care. But if you guys are going to be so petty that I rocked your world and show the emperor has no clothes, so be it. All right. I stood among millions of people. I didn't have a clue what their names are, where they come from. I've seen what the real movement is. This is what the real revolution is about. Okay, but we need strong leaders. But we need strong leaders. They can represent the movement. They understand. They're just the servants to this process. But we are the real force, the people. So they need to be like leaders in at wartime. You show by example. You show us the way. Okay, and you have to be ready to die with your soldiers. All right. Anyway, thanks very much, and I hope there's some value to what I said, and we'll see what happens. But trying to be hopeful that you will see through that. Constructive criticism is always a good thing, and not many people have been exposed to a real test. And don't blame you. I've been there, done that, and we always have to figure that out ourselves. What's the ultimate price you're willing to pay? But if I aspire to be a leader, that check comes with me. There's no room for pettiness. So infighting, name calling, all right? You have to be perfect all the time. So people are drawn to you. You have to be mature, thick skin. You have to be a man or a woman. I've seen strong women leaders, okay? All right, without any personal invectives here, I stop here. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching. And if you agree with me or you think this has any benefit to our movement, please share it. I'll be happy to rejoin if I'm asked to do that. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. But if you think I'm obsolete and you know better, at least I did my share. Thank you. God with you.